Today we are going to be solving proportions, and so the way we're going to end up doing that is using what we call cross products. And so we'll figure out how these cross products work and what they are in this first example. So here I've got W divided by 42 equals 6 over 7. There's a couple ways to solve the proportion, and there are some easier ways than others, but we're going to stick with this one method. And it works this way. See, if I was to solve for W, what I'd want to do is get rid of these denominators. So you see, if I multiply by a number that is the product of 7 and 42, it would cross-cancel the 7, cross-cancel the 42. So for instance, if I put 42 times by 7 up top, so whatever this product is, I'm not sure what it is right now, but if I did that, see the 7's would cross-cancel. I'd just be left with this 42 times by 6 on this side. Over here, I do the same thing. I've got to multiply by 42 times by 7. Well, the 42's would cancel out, so I'm just left with this 7 times W. Well, then I'd have 7W equals 6 times by 42. Well, now I'll go ahead and multiply the 6 and the 42. And when I do that, 6 times 2 makes 12. 6 times 4 makes 24 plus 1 makes 25. And this all equals 7W. Well, all you have to do from there is divide by 7, and that gives us our answer. So W equals, well, 7 goes into 252. Well, 7 goes into 25, we have 3 times, with 4 left over, and 7 goes into 42 6 times, so 36 would be our answer. Well, instead of doing all of this, what we could do is just remember, see, if we have the numbers 7 and W diagonal from them, and there's an equal sign between them, these are cross products. So the 7 times W is what we did right here. And then we did the 6 times the 42. That's what we have right here, 6 times 42. And that's what we're going to use to solve these problems. I'm going to use cross products, but it only works when we have two proportions, or a proportion which is two ratios set equal to each other. So again, we're going to use cross products. Cross products to solve proportions. Again, a proportion is just two ratios set equal to each other. So here's the cross products. It's t times 9, so that makes 9t, and this equals, and then we multiply these two numbers, 2 times 52, or 54 in this case. And so we go ahead and do that multiplication, and I end up with 108. And so all I have to do from there is divide. Divide 9 into 108. And t equals 12. And that would be my answer, just as W equaled 36 on the last one. So if I continue doing that method, 17 times f, and again, you can only do this when we have a proportion, when we have two fractions set equal to each other. So again, that's 17 times by f, and this equals 34 times by 7. So we go ahead and multiply. I got 17f equals, over here I have 28, carry a 2, 7 and 3 make 21, plus 2 makes 23. So we've got to do some division. Divide by 17 on both sides, so off to the side I'll write down 238, and 17 into that goes one time, as the number times 17 goes into 23. Do the subtraction, and I'm left with 6, 68. So that's 4 times. 4 times 7 makes 28. Carry a 2. 7, or 1 and 4 make 4, plus 2 makes 68. So that is the number there. So F equals 14. Actually, I'm sorry. F equals, let's see, 14. Yes, that's correct. And the next one, I go ahead and multiply the h and the 5. So 5h. And then I multiply the 15 times the 6. And so when I multiply the 15 and the 6, I end up with 90. And then I just need to divide 5 into 90 to find out how many times it goes in there. Well, when I do the division, h equals 18. Well, now we've got some problems in which we have to write the proportion. And so in order to write a proportion, all we're going to do is look at the units and try to get them to match up. So the first problem says euros are a currency used in several European countries. On one day in October 2005, you could exchange $3. So here's the important information. $3 for about 2.5 euros. So what we're going to do is we're going to write a proportion. So when we do that, we're going to have the same units in the same location of the fraction. So $3 on top and 2 5/10 euros on the bottom. Now when I write the next fraction, it's got to be exactly the same. So I'm going to have dollars on top and euros on the bottom. So let's see what it says. How many dollars? Okay, this is the question. So this is the variable right here. So we don't know the number of dollars. So let's call the variable D for dollars. So D dollars would you need to have or to get 8 euros. So 8 euros goes here. So notice that the units all match. Dollars on top, euros on the bottom. So now we solve. And when we solve these, we just cross multiply. 3 times 8. And then this equals 2.5 times by D. So from there, all you're going to do is multiply the 3 and the 8. So that gives us 24 equals 2 5/10 D. And then we'll have to divide. Now, when I divide, I'm dividing by a decimal. So that means I'm going to move that decimal over one space, and it means I'm going to add a 0. So I really need to do 25 into 240. And then add that decimal and bring it straight up in the quotient. So 25 goes into 240. Now, think of quarters. How many quarters make something close to 240? Well, 9 quarters end up making $2.25. So I'm going to put 9 in there, and I know that makes $2.25. The way I got that pretty quick is 4 quarters make $1, so 8 quarters make $2, and an extra quarter, 9 quarters, make $2.25. So I do the subtraction. Make sure you borrow here. So it changes to a 3, so it's 15 left over. Add the 0. Bring it down. 25 into 150 just goes 6 times. So there it is, 9.6. So D equals $9.60. Looking at our next one, again, we're going to set it up the same way. So look at the units. A 3-ounce serving of tuna fish provides 24 grams of protein. So let's write that out. 3 ounces of tuna fish provides 24 grams of protein. So I've got my units. That means that my next proportion, my next ratio, to make my proportion needs to be ounces on top, grams on the bottom. So let's read it. How many grams? Okay, right there, that's the question. So we don't know how many grams. So let's call that G for number of grams. That's our variable term. So how many grams? We don't know. I have grams here. Let's change that to like X, because I had the G here for grams anyhow. So change that to X. Of protein are in a 10-ounce serving of tuna fish. So 10 ounces. So OZ right there for ounces. So now we're ready to solve. So we're going to just cross multiply. 3 times x, so that makes 3x, and then 10 times 24. So 10 times by 24. So that makes 240. And so now we've got to divide. So when I do that division, divide by 3 on both sides. 3 goes into 24 8 times, so 8, and then I'll bring up that 0. So 3 goes into 0 0 times. So 80 grams of protein are in that 10 ounces of tuna fish. Quite a bit. Well, let's take a look at our next one. Hooke's law states that a distance a spring is stretched is directly proportional. So directly proportional just means that we're going to have a line, an equal sign, and another line. So it's directly proportional to the force applied. Okay, so let's read it. Now it says if 20 pounds of force. So it doesn't matter which way we set this up. So as long as I have the units the same. So I'll put pounds on top, inches on the bottom. It doesn't really matter which way it goes. You could have put inches on top, pounds on the bottom. As long as you're consistent, you're going to get the same answer. So if a 20-pound force, so 20 pounds on top, and is stretched 4 inches, so 4 inches, how much will the spring stretch? So let's call this the how much it will stretch let's call that D for distance. So it's got to be inches here. We don't know how far it's going to be stretched. We'll use D for an 80 pounds of force applied. So 80 pounds. And then we go ahead and solve. Now we're going to solve by cross multiplying. 20 times D. So 20 times D equals 80 times by 4. So 80 times 4. And so we're ready to multiply. So we've got 20D still. 80 times 4, well, 4 times 8 is 32, and add the 0. And then we can go ahead and do some division. So when I divide by 20, notice that the zeros are going to cancel out. That's like dividing by 10 on the top and bottom. So really I'm just doing 2 and a 32. Ends up going 16 times. So 16 inches is our answer. So again, they can give the information many different ways. On your homework, you'll see a graph, and just follow what the units are. You'll have some units on the y-axis, some units on the x-axis. Well, write those down, just like I wrote down pounds and inches. And then write down the given information they give you, and look for what they're asking for. Put your variable there, and what the information they give you, and then put that number in the other spot. So again, they're going to give you 3 bits of information, and you only need to find 1. So let's look for that in this problem. Beeswax is used in making candles, and it's produced by honeybees. So it says that the honeybees produce 7 pounds of honey for each pound of wax. Now you have a problem like this as well on your homework, where they don't give you those 3 numbers directly. And so you need to look at the words to figure out what the number is. So here it is, 7 pounds of honey. So we've got 7 pounds of honey for each pound of wax. Pound of wax. Well, what does this mean? Pounds of wax. I'll get that word in there. There it is. So what does it mean when they say each pound of wax? See, they didn't pluralize pounds here. Here they had pluralized it, 7 pounds. So this is just 1. So each pound tells us that this is 1 pound. And so that's the number that goes there. So that was the tricky part here. So again, I always say there's 3 numbers they give you, like the 20, the 4, and the 80, and they have an unknown here. Well, here we only see 2 numbers, so we have to read the words carefully. We saw each pound of wax means just 1 pound. So they didn't give us that number directly. We just have to figure that out from the words they give us. So here's the question. How many pounds of honey? So we don't know. Let's call that H. So H pounds of honey is produced if we have 145 pounds of wax. So 145 pounds of wax. So notice again, you're always just lining up the units. So we've got wax on the bottom, honey on the top. And then you go ahead and cross multiply. So we're doing 7 times by 145. So 7 times 145 equals, and then we've got 1 times H. Well, this is a nice problem because 1 times H, that's just H. So all you have to do is multiply the 145 times by the 7. And that'll give us our answers. So let's do that multiplication here. That makes 35 and carry the 3. This makes 28 and 3 make 32. Let's see, 28, 33. And we'll carry the 3. Oh, I'm sorry, I messed it. I was thinking of 5 for some reason, so let's fix that. So let's try it again. I was thinking of the 5 probably because of this 5 here. So that makes 35, 28 and 3 make the 31, and then 7 and 1 plus the 3 ends up giving me 10. So there it is. H equals 1,015 pounds of, and then what are we trying to find here? Honey, it says. That's what the H stood for. And I have it right there as well. So those are the types of problems that you're going to see on tonight's homework. Again, look for the units that they give us and write those units down. That'll really help you out. If you don't write the units, chances are you're going to get the number and the variable in the wrong spot of the fraction. So that's some hints for your success on tonight's homework. Good luck.